Welcome to Escaping Purgatory, a podcast where we rewatch Supernatural and talk it through in the hopes we can finally escape this show.
Join us each week and leave comments on upcoming episodes, and together we can escape Supernatural Purgatory.
Hello.
What do you feel guilty about, Amy?
I feel guilty about the fact that last episode I said, I bet this is never mentioned again. And in the next episode, it was very much mentioned again.
But not really. It was never addressed. It was just in his mind.
Yeah, along with other things. It's just a long list of things that were going through Dean's mind, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the point in this episode? I mean, I guess it was that conversation at the end of the episode, but even that was kind of like surface level. Like, Sam is okay, even though, like, he's really not. What?
They even say it. They do the thing at the beginning of the episode where, like, they're like, why are we working on this case?
Yep.
So,
they do.
There were parts of this I liked, I think, and parts of it that were not so great.
Yeah.
I feel like they were maybe victim of budgeting in this episode. I think that, like, it felt a bit low budget, even for Supernatural.
I know. Like, the amount of flashback. I mean, it's not egregious with the flashbacks, but there were quite a few.
They were long as well. Like, we get the point. Like, we know who this is.
And also, I mean, I did say it last episode, whatever. It is written by Adam Glass, and I don't like his episodes, and I didn't like this one. Like, I was saying just before we started recording, that the only thing I liked about this episode was that the guy who played Osiris was having a blast. And but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, but you went from Iron Man to this.
Was it the same year? Was it in that order? Because this is what 2011.
So Iron Man came out in 2008.
Whoa.
This is 2011.
Whoa. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So
he's having a good time, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I vaguely remember this episode. For some reason in my mind, I had it the other way around, and like Sam was on trial, not Dean.
Really?
Yeah,
okay.
I don't know why I remembered it that way. This way makes sense. So I'm like, yeah, okay, fine. I just remembered it wrong. But yeah, it doesn't. I don't feel like we got anywhere with this episode.
No, I spun your wheels, really.
Yeah, and like I said this last episode, it kind of touches on a theme that we've already explored in Supernatural.
Yes.
About this type of character development of like, I feel bad for the things that I've done. Oh well.
Mm-hmm. Basically, yeah. Like, and it's just like, it's an excuse for Dean to feel forgiven, but like he doesn't at the end of this episode. Oh, by the way, we're talking about season 7, episode 4, Defending Your Life. Sorry, not written by Adam Glass and directed by Bob Singer. There were no zooms,
No. And there were plenty of opportunity for zooms in this episode too. Come on.
Oh my goodness, yeah. Right? So many. So many.
Yeah.
Though this episode was like dark.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of the times where I was just like, everything, all the blacks are bleeding into each other. I guess it doesn't matter because you can't really see. And like the pacing of this episode was weird. Like, they wanted to get to Osiris.
Yeah.
But they had to show what Osiris did, so they gave us all the victims within like 10 minutes. Like, super, super fast. And I was just like, what?
I know. I wanted to like this because they're like trying to do some character development, I guess, like a bit of a character study on Dean after the like last episode. But then, like we said, that's not really actually touched on. It's kind of just a long list of things that he's done. So, I don't know. I don't know what he was saying. I think this does build to something, like this idea of Dean feeling guilty and Sam kind of being okay. because I feel like through a lot of season 7, Dean is pretty loosey-goosey with his life.
Yeah.
But then that again is also nothing new in Supernatural.
That's true.
I do feel like they ramp it up a bit in season 7, which kind of builds to them, like him going to purgatory and kind of finding it almost like a freeing experience.
Right.
But at this point, I don't know. Like I said, it's already, the conversation's been had. We know this about them.
And like, Sam always forgives himself. Yeah. Always. He always has. Like, even the way that he like questions Joe and Dean in this episode, I was like, yeah, I mean, this is your reasoning for why you don't feel guilt about things, which some things they should feel guilty about. I should. Yeah. But I mean, ultimately, it's not really their fault either. Yeah, they're like victims of circumstance, right? Yeah. Like,
and again, Sammy, he makes a point in this episode somewhere like, we shoot people, Dean. You know, like there's a
right. Yeah.
He does call out the hypocrisy, which that's the kind of stuff I appreciate. I think in this episode, between them. Yes. But it makes me think that this whole stuff about Dean killing Amy Pond actually maybe does come out later, because he's doing such a song and dance about hiding it. So maybe this is a plot point that's going to come between them at some point, and I was wrong.
I mean, it must do, right? Like, it's too big of a thing for them not. I mean, I guess there is a mention of it, right? Actually, between the two of them. Yeah. Like, Sam's like, "Oh, I'm so glad that you let it go," and he's like, "Yeah, sure, I'll let it go." I wonder if it's got something to do with maybe. Again, I'll probably be proven wrong in the next episode, but like slash fiction when that comes up. So when the Leviathan are doing stuff, so that like to like prove that they're like Amy was one of the victims of Dean. Yeah, but I also don't feel like that's right at the same time, so I don't know. I'm interested to see how they bring this back up now, because I was clearly wrong in the last episode. They're apparently making this a big plot point now, so yeah, fine, I guess. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like you said, they've done this before, and honestly, this sort of reminded me of You Can't Handle the Truth, because even the whole setup of it all. Like, he goes to a bar, he starts drinking, and like telling something to somebody. Obviously, in You Can't Handle the Truth, the bartender ended up like spilling all her secrets to him. Yeah. But it's like it's another like I say lesser god just because of how supernatural is. Yeah. But it's a lesser, quote unquote, lesser god. Providing like punishment for them. And they do this at like, I feel like that's a recurring theme, because kind of these gods are kind of, I don't know why they're annoyed at them actually, because there was a whole thing about these gods trying to stop the apocalypse, and like they did that. They should be sort of a little bit grateful, I feel. Yeah, this is true. But maybe not all of them were like in on that meeting. That's true. Like only some of them got there. Yeah. And I don't think Osiris actually has a particular like vendetta out for Dean. He just happens to be in his bar at the right time, like fine. Yeah. I think we should I also love that I also love that it's not really a permanent solution. It was just like, oh yeah, he's going to come back in like 2,000 years. I have things to say about that too. It was an interesting one. Yeah. All right, like you were going to say, let's get into it. Yeah. And we will go from there. So the recap is a little bit of Sam saying that he's still figuring out what's real. We can't figure out what's real. And it just shows various scenes of that happening from earlier episodes, and how Lucifer was there just saying, look, you're still in the cage. And then the warehouse scene where Dean's like, give me your hand. This is real. I was there, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then it's basically like the last half of the recap is last episode.
Yeah.
So 703. And Sam claiming he's a grade A freak, but he's managing it. All the stuff with Amy in the forest and them letting her go and how she killed her mother for him and all this, that, and the other. And then it ends with Dean killing Amy.
Yeah.
And then we get into the episode and this dude is running through the streets being chased by a car. Either this guy's running real fast or this car is taunting him, which is probably true.
I kind of loved this. I do. I loved it because it was like, it was so cheesy. I kind of enjoyed it.
What's really, really funny.
Yeah.
Actually, do you know what makes it even... Yeah. What's implied is that it's like a 10-year-old girl behind the wheel of this car.
You're so right. You're so right, actually. I didn't even think about that. But yeah, it totally is. And,
like, yeah, okay. And so, I mean, the last victim, the murderer guy, like, he's the only one who actually gets faced by his actual ghost.
Yeah.
Because, like, this one is a car, the next one is a dog. Like, what?
The other one should have just been like a floating gun, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking. And it's like, obviously they switched it up in the middle because they wanted to show Joe with Dean. But, like, none of these other and they did this for comedic effect, right? And also to get them into the case because the man carries on running. He stops in the middle of an alleyway at one point. I was like, what are you doing? A car is chasing you. Like, why are you in the middle of the road? What?
I don't know. But my favourite part was when he goes into the room and I said out loud, "I'll be so funny if the car was there." And then it was!
It was right there. And okay, this is probably the best use of the splat that they've done because the car accelerates and hits him, but you don't see it. The title card comes up instead, and you get the sound of this title card, which is that splat. So it's just like,
yeah, it's good.
Your imagination takes over at that point.
I enjoyed that.
Yeah.
That
was very, very good. And this is all happening in, I don't know if this location is relevant or not, but it's in Dearborn, Michigan.
Yeah.
So it's more of a town feel or a city feel rather than like out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. It feels like a city when they're walking around this place, but I get like, do you know what I mean? Yeah, it was fine. So they go and investigate this car death thing. The only kind of hint we can get of Lucifer, I think, in this episode is as Sam's getting out of the car and he like hears him, but then he does the whole palm thing and then he goes away, and that's pretty much it. I think we're supposed to be being lulled into like a false sense of security that like Sam has this under control, so that when he eventually does like break, we're like shocked a bit more. Yeah,
I think so.
So then Dean does this whole justification of working like a Monster of the Week episode in the middle of Leviathan stuff because he's like,
feels wonky. What? Working a regular job.
And Sam's just like, Bobby will call if there's anything on the Leviathan front. You know, in the meantime, you want to work this case, Dean. And Dean's like, oh yeah, it's nice to have like a simple case. And he makes this a point a few times that like their simple case wasn't that simple. And he's kind of annoyed about it.
Dean's attitude for most of this episode is great, actually. I will say that. It's very like, I mean, it's this classic like son of a bitch.
Yeah.
Like
he's just like so annoyed at the world and his circumstance. Yeah. He's like, I just want to behead some vampires. Is it like, can I not, like, come on. It's never that simple, Dean.
Exactly.
Which again, I think is feeding into this idea of purgatory later on. I think this attitude does continue.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting way ahead of myself, but Dean kind of doesn't enjoy purgatory, but he finds it like simple, right? Compared to all of this mess where everything's really complicated. In purgatory, he does just get like behead some vampires. So
exactly, it's just you don't have to sit there and think like because he sees the world in black and white and all the monsters are bad, he can just go around killing monsters without having justification of it all.
Or guilt about it, eh?
Right, exactly. Hey, nice tie-in.
Thanks. So Dean says that like Sam seems good, and he's like, I am, for me, which I quite like. Sam thanks Dean, as we said, about this Amy Pond thing, like, thanks for listening to me and letting her go, and Dean's just like, no problem, like, side-eye.
Yeah.
They go into the apartment, and the detective's like, this one's real weird. He said, if we weren't on the 10th floor, I would say it's a car. They get out their like EMF reader to check out, and this annoyed me. Sorry. But they're like, oh, it's some kind of ghost. And they say this a few times about like a car not being able to do this, and I'm like, my dudes,
but
you have seen a ghost car before.
Like, yes, yeah, I know. I was like, did you forget the first episode of this entire series starts with a ghost car?
That's a ghost car. There's that whole the other ghost
Twins.
car with Cassie. That's a full-on ghost car.
Oh yeah,
that's a full-on ghost car.
Yes. I forgot about there's a ghost truck. Yeah,
ghost truck. Like, because they find some like red powder in this place, so Sam makes a note of that. It's not sulfur. And then Dean says, so this is what he said. That I was like, what? He's like,
could be Christine, like.
Yeah. Even possessed cars can't do stairs.
Oh, he does say it's something spectral. I'm like, okay, fine. But I'm sure they make the point later on that he's like, no, not even a ghost car. I don't know. I was just like,
yeah,
you've seen ghost cars.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Dean finds in like a bowl. Oh yeah, this was another good thing about this episode. They did actually kind of address Dean's drinking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
He finds like an AA chip that says 10 years, and he's like, dead and sober, double crappy. Ha ha ha. Sam finds like a charge at a place called Jane's that this guy's been going to, so they're gonna look into that later on. And then he like tosses this chip back to Dean. He's like, congrats on your sobriety, meaning like you go check out the AA place. But Dean refuses. He's like, no, I gave up AA for Lent. I'm like, we're not Catholic. And he's like,
A gives me the jeeps. Wow. Shocker.
So this is as close as they've ever kind of gotten to saying like, you have a drinking problem that you're not willing to like acknowledge.
Address.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Sam agrees to go like hit up this AA meeting, and he's going to go find Jane.
Yeah.
I just thought I was like, oh my God, they're kind of doing it. They're kind of.
Yeah.
And there is a point later on as well where Sam makes another like jibe at Dean about his drinking. And I just kind of wish that had continued. Like, yeah, it's a problem.
It is a problem, and it is never addressed.
No. Like, where did we see him? We should have seen him go through some kind of recovery, or like some hint of it at the end of the series as well. Like, oh yeah, you saved the world. Maybe you'll stop drinking so much now. I don't know.
I mean, if anything, Purgatory would have done something, because like, is he... I'm assuming there's no access to alcohol there.
Yeah, like exactly. Could have some kind of rehab, purgatory rehab.
Yeah.
Surely. So Sam goes to this AA meeting, and he's talking to a woman about the guy who was killed by the car, and she just confirms that he's a nice guy, but he seemed kind of like a tortured soul, like had some thing in his past, and that he hadn't really told them anything about it. But she said she thought he was going to like slip, start drinking again, because the last time she spoke to him, he was at Neil's tavern and said that he was an inch away from drinking. So she ran over, I assume she's like his sponsor, and talked him down.
Yeah.
But she doesn't know what triggered that, like why he started wanting to drink again.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that Jane's is a flower shop, and Dean is there, and he goes in, and there's this nice woman behind the counter. He pretends to be FBI, asks about the guy, and she's kind of worried about him, so presumably he's she knows him. Adding to that small town vibe you were saying, I think. Dean breaks the news that he's dead, And he's like, oh, she's like, oh, that makes sense because he came in a couple of days ago to pay up 3 years in advance for his monthly delivery. And Dean asks where they go. She tells him a name, Miss Elizabeth Duran. And when he asks for her address, she kind of looks at him weirdly. And then we get like a hard cut to a graveyard. So he's been gone.
One thing about this. So like when they're at the grave, Dean's like, so who's this girl?
Yeah.
But it's now nighttime and it was like middle of the day. And I know. I'm sorry. I have to point this out with time because it's just, but like you literally had all day.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
To figure out who this person is. And yet you turn up to the grave and be like, who is it?
Wait, no, this was really confusing because was Sam talking to that woman in the daytime or was it at night? I feel like it was
daytime.
I think it was daytime. Okay, fine.
Because she was out. They were outside.
Yeah.
Outside the center.
Okay.
Like they didn't actually. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So what did they? I guess they just like were like, oh yeah, this place is a graveyard. Let's hang around till nighttime. I guess just in case any ghosts show up. I don't know. Like,
I guess so.
Fine, I guess. But yeah, time. they choices.
Yeah. They wanted the spooky graveyard. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But like.
It wasn't spooky and it was just kind of sad.
Yeah, exactly.
To be honest. Because this was right. They waited all night or whatever to go to this place and then literally say 2 things to each other and then go back to the motel because they just go, oh yeah, here she is. Oh yeah, she was a 10-year-old, which is sad. And then Dean just goes, let's go back to the motel. Like that's Could they not have done all that at the motel on the computer? I don't know. Right.
Because the reason why they know where she is because the florist gave the address of the... I mean, maybe she just gave the... Well, no, because they would have delivered the flowers to the grave site.
Why did they...
So they know exactly where it is.
And why did they both need to be there? Dean could have gone by himself and then met Sam up at the motel. Like, oh, I'm going to ring you for a 2-second conversation in a graveyard. And then, like, I don't know. I guess the assumption of a ghost, they had needed backup. But, like... It just seemed weird to me. I don't know. It's fine.
It was, yeah. I was like, oh, they're choosing a lot of like locations for this episode, like unnecessarily.
All that budget could have been spent on Osiris's costuming. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Where's his headdress? He needs a good headdress.
Yes. Yeah. Everything looked. Okay, we'll get there.
We'll get there. So back at the motel, Sam's doing research. He finds out that this girl was killed by a car backing out of a driveway, but no one was ever charged. It was an accident. But then Dean's like, let me guess, the neighbor was the guy who got hit by the car in his 10th floor apartment. And they're like, yeah. He clearly felt bad about it because he sent flowers. And Dean's like, makes you wonder if the guy wasn't drunk when he ran her over. And then, like, again... as he says this, Dean drinks, and Sam just looks at him like, okay.
You're the guy who drinks and drives constantly.
I think we're just establishing Dean as a huge hypocrite in this episode. Like, there's so many things he does that his, like, absolute hypocrisy. Like, this is one of them. He's like, oh yeah, he was a drink driver who killed a young girl. Drinks. Like, it's very on the nose.
Yes. Yep.
So they decide to go burn her bones because ghost. And so they go to the graveyard. They do that.
Yep. It's all very it's very jump cutty. And I get why they did that because it's like a 10-year-old girl. They don't really want to
show that
necessarily. So I kind of get it.
It's fine. And then so they have to show they can complete this job. But then of course it doesn't work because we see another guy running and he's getting chased by a dog.
Yep.
This was he goes into a diner and he's like, people are looking at him strangely because he's acting like something's chasing him, but we don't see anything at all. And it does like a cut that shows the dog barking for him outside the door, and then like you kind of see that the patrons of the restaurant or diner, whatever, don't see it. He goes into the bathroom, and the only thought I had was like, this is a really big bathroom for such a small diner.
Me too. Yes, I thought the exact same thing. I was like,
good, it's not just me.
Well, 1, this is really clean, and 2, this is massive.
Mm-hmm. Like, it was huge. That place looks tiny. I think that was the same diner from where they met Eve. I think it was the same place.
Oh, yeah, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. It just looked similar. But then, I mean, diners in America kind of do also. So.
For a reason, I guess. Yeah.
So the guy rings 911, says that there's like a dog after him. And he's like, I'm in a restaurant. And the woman's like, okay. But then he like turns around and the dog's like just sat like looking at him like, I'm going to eat ya. And he does. The dog eats him. And there's a good blood splatter on the wall. And we hear the paramedics on the phone like, sir. Very 911.
No. Yeah. Yeah. So then it's the next night, I guess. Oh, it's still nighttime. Sam and Dean have just come back in from burning the bones, and Sam's reading the newspaper, and Dean's like,
Oh, another night at the office. Why don't you take the first shower?
It's like Sam is kind of being like Robo Sam again, and I wonder if this is like part of his like trying to feel normal.
One thing I noticed in this episode that like there's a point in this when they're talking to like the last guy who gets killed, he's almost like manic in his like, and then what happened and how that kind of it's very almost like too enthusiastic, and I wonder if he's like overcompensating for what's going on in his head.
Yeah, it could be.
It's true. He seemed like Sam, but like he was almost like doing too much. And like I think Dean even kind of clocks it because he makes some comment about like the case and like I don't know. It's
And it could be that Sam sympathizes with these people because they're seeing things that other people are not seeing.
Yeah, that's so true.
He wants to believe them right away because he wants to like make them feel good versus his situation where they're like he's getting told he's crazy like every 5 seconds.
You're so right.
So
actually.
it could be overcompensating for that. So Sam's reading the newspaper and he tells Dean about how Christopher Fisher. I don't know why I found that really difficult to say, but I did. Was ripped to shreds by a wild animal attack last night. And Dean's like, oh, it's a dangerous world out there. And like, it's kind of settling down. And Sam's like, no, but it was in a diner. And Dean's like, yeah, that doesn't quite sound right. And like I said, Sam says,
apparently, none of the patrons saw anything. Guy calls 911 screaming about a dog, but the operator didn't hear anything either.
And Sam goes into research mode and starts to find out more information about this guy. And it turns out that this piece of shit used to run a dog fighting operation. And Dean's like, great, so what? Like, he caused misery, now a ghost is coming after him, like just desserts kind of thing. Yeah. And then he's like, wait, do dogs even have ghosts?
I guess they do, maybe.
I mean, that's true. Like, or is this another like ghost possession thing? No, because it was dogs. The whole reason was because he felt guilty about running a dog fighting ring. And it's not that, but then it's Osiris that's kind of making things happen.
Yeah.
That's what's implied by Joe. Right?
I think, I don't know if I necessarily think that the girl was driving the car. I think maybe the car was just being used almost like as a projection. Yeah. And then maybe when it's a bit more like poetic, he uses the ghosts to come after them. But other than that, I mean, the dogs and like ancient Egypt kind of go hand in hand as well. There's like, so he very easily could have like projected that. I think there's a bit of both going on here. He's just a powerful god.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right about that. Oh, so here's where it says like, so
that sounds weird. A ghost dog?
No weirder than ghost car,
Yeah, like you've seen a ghost car.
So Sam says it, but it's like there has been at least 3 instances of ghost cars. So like, no.
There was even that time that the Impala got possessed and like ran that woman over.
Twice.
Right, yeah, twice. I don't know. I just feel like, what is the name of the ghost car episode? Like, I literally can't remember it because it's like Route 666. Like,
yes,
yes. Oh, come on.
I mean, how involved was he on that case, though?
Oh, Sam and Dean?
Sam.
Oh, Sam. Yeah, he was on the phone to Dean.
Oh,
he was very involved.
Right. He was very involved. Yes, he was. Because he was like, "This might work. I don't really know, but this is where his yeah. That's right. Yeah. So Ghost Card is not weird. Anyway.
Yeah, it shouldn't be hitting the radar as weird.
No, not at all.
You know, it does make sense. Vengeance on the guy that Michael Vicked you. I mean, I'm no one to judge, but it sounds to me like that guy had it coming.
And then Sam then goes on to reveal that actually this guy turned his life around after serving time, and worked as a volunteer at an animal shelter and ended up like raising funds for this shelter. Sam making a point. People change.
Just like him.
Yes. Just like him, just like Amy, just like all the other people that you try to save. Okay, fine. And Dean's like, tell that to Ghost Dog.
Yeah.
And Sam's like, all right, let's get suited up and let's go out. And he's like, and Dean's like, what? And they have this little like, what kind of thing.
You okay?
Peachy. Yeah, let's do this.
I think this is the turning point for Dean in this case, is that they have to now invest, like, they don't get to have a rest.
Yeah.
Because of this guy who Dean has deemed as a bad person.
Yeah.
And he's just sort of fed up. He's like, I don't want to do, like, this case was supposed to be done. Like, we burned the bones, we've done the thing, we've done what we came into town to do, and now we have to save this, like, jackass. Or not save him, but, like, figure out what happened to him.
And you're right, like, it's not another, he wants a black and white case of, like, these are the bad guys, but he doesn't really feel like the people who are getting killed are particularly good people. So does that make the monster a good guy? But then they are kind of good people, so does that make the monster a bad guy? And he just wants, like, a cut and dry, like, yeah. Eating people's brains, bad guy.
And this first guy, like, the first victim, is not necessarily, like, he changed his life around and was sending flowers, but there was no sort of, like, there's no, he kind of got away with it, right? Because he didn't go to prison, he didn't do anything like that.
Yeah.
Whereas the next two people served time, like, were punished by earthly laws. And so, like, the last guy, he didn't have a chance to turn his life around because he just got out of prison.
Yeah.
But, like, this guy has had a chance to turn his life around. The first case was very simple for Dean because the guy was still a bad guy, kind of. And it was just a ghost.
Yeah.
But now it's no longer just a ghost. So they go into the coroner's. Again, such a quick, like, scene, which they could have just had as they drove to the apple farm. Yeah. But, like, they go and see the body and they find some more dirt that matches the dirt from the other place. And they somehow figured out that the dirt is from an apple orchard. They call it an apple farm, but it's an orchard. But anyway, that's fine.
That's so true, actually. Like, it's not, like, they don't, okay. Is the red dirt or the apples in some way linked to Osiris? Apples and Osiris thing? I don't think so. Like,
no.
So they're like, it's just really strangely coincidental. I don't know, this was really strange to me. Like,
so this is my problem with Adam Glass's writing, is that he puts stuff in like this. So it's like, this is very much like detective work.
Yes.
As in not supernatural detective work, but just regular, like, this is dirt, so we need to find out what this dirt is so we can figure out the origin of this dirt. Yeah. Whereas in supernatural, they sometimes do that, but not really. It's more like they just kind of end up... But they also kind of end up just knowing in this as well.
Like the apple farm kind of had no point. Like, they could have just had Osiris operating out of his bar and then, like, having a back room that was the courtroom. he was like luring people into.
It's true.
Like, it was just, I don't understand where the apple farm orchard. I don't understand where it came into this. Why a barn?
Why a barn in the middle of nowhere, in a place with hundreds of acres? Like,
hey, look, maybe I have a theory on this and I will say it later.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
That's the theme of this season. Amy says her theory.
Yeah, right. Dean's very sarcastic about the whole thing. He's like, great, if I liked apples, or if I ate, I'd be so interested if I ate apples. It's like, Dean, you need to fix your diet if you don't eat apples.
But he
like,
does
come on.
eat apples. He likes because apple pie is his like favorite food.
That's true. That is, yeah. And Sam doesn't even call him out for that.
I know, like, you eat pie, man. Like, you know, like, come on. The line was there. It was ready to go.
It was right there. Oh my god. Yeah. Ugh. So this place is old, it's abandoned, and but like, it's old and abandoned, yet it's good for growing apples. Like,
look, there was no reason for this apple farm. I don't understand why it was there.
I don't get it either. Yeah. Maybe Osiris likes to have open space because of like Egypt was in a desert.
No, you're clutching. There's no reason for this. Like,
I know
they needed them to be
clutching.
on the road, maybe for the guy to jump in front of them, so they had to be on the way to somewhere rural. But like, again, this could have just happened in the street in the town. Like, I don't understand.
I don't.
No, it's fine. I don't know why Apple.
Also, like, they're in the Midwest, not known for apples, by the way.
I love that we're so hung up on this. Like, this was a choice. I don't understand why.
It was, it was definitely a choice. Anyway, like you said, man jumps out in front of them, and Dean manages to stop the car, and then like, they bring him into the car and like try and help him. They take him back to the hotel room, which again, like, how far away? A few hundred acres. Okay, I'm not going to get into it.
Don't even think about it.
Sam goes back and forth to this place really, really quickly. Yeah. So there's not that far out of town. Nope. I'm just going to say that. But it's kind of made to feel like it is.
Yeah.
There you go. That is all I'm going to say about that. Or maybe it's not that far.
Maybe it's a small town, big orchard. I don't know. It's fine. Just don't think about it anymore. It's fine.
Yeah. It's supernatural. Distance and time are not a thing. So they're back in the hotel room, and Sam wants Warren, which is this guy, to tell them what's going on.
Look, you're good people, I can see that. But you can't do anything for me. No one can. As
soon as this guy started talking, I was like, his voice is amazing.
Yeah, he had a good voice.
I don't know. It was just, I want him to read me a book. And that's where my brain went. So they're trying to convince him that, like, look, you can tell us anything. We're not going to think it's weird. Mm-hmm. And Warren just says, I was just put on trial and sentenced to death. And he explains that he held up a liquor store and killed the owner and his wife. I wasn't thinking, I was young. And Dean's like, wait, when was this? And he says, in 1981. Mm-hmm. And Dean's like, well, you were just put on trial. He says, no, I just got out of prison. And Dean's like, okay, you're making less sense the more you talk. So Dean's not having this. I guess as soon as he found out that he was a murderer.
Yeah.
He was like, whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, what are you talking about? Because like his attitude really does change.
It does, yeah.
And this is where Sam comes on a little too strong as the guy who's like, I believe everything that you're saying.
Yeah. I think your theory on that is right. I think it's just because Sam's not going through a similar thing and not necessarily would think people would believe him.
Yeah, exactly. So Warren then explains that he just did 30 years, got paroled, and like he feels guilty about it because he says, not that you're ever free of that. I think about it every day. Yeah. So Sam's like, well, what are you running from? He's like, well, I told you, the trial. All I know is 1 minute I'm at the bar, the next I'm jumped, wake up in a damn courtroom. And Dean's like, courtroom? Like courtroom?
Well, no, there was a judge. Everything was crazy. It was in a barn.
At the apple farm?
Yeah.
I don't know enough about Osiris to know if any of this really makes sense.
Here's my wackadoo theory, okay?
Go for it.
I said last episode that like, it would have been really good if Amy Pond's kid had been the one to kill Dean, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe this episode was like, Dean's always going to face his, like, final judgment in a barn.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
And it's all kind of linking together. Season 7, like, Andrew Dabb was like, season 7 is the it. This is how I'm going to end this show. I'm going to go back to season 7. I'm going to pick out all the things from that. And what I got from it was revenge and barns.
Yep. Yep. That's exactly what happened.
This is it. This is why. This is in a barn. It all links together. Get your red string out. Like, conspiracy map.
But how can it be tied together with something that's going to happen in the future?
It just is, okay?
Okay,
it's just fine.
fair
because
enough. Supernatural logic.
Yeah, because you meet your judgment in a barn. Cass appeared in a barn. He was
true,
kind of judging Dean and saying, like, don't you think you deserve to be saved? And then on the opposite of that, we have Osiris being like, don't you feel guilty for everything you've ever done and deserve to die? Right? So somewhere in the middle is Dean getting impaled on some rebar by a vampire from like 20 years ago.
Yeah, it's perfect. Love it.
Thanks. That's my theory. That's why this happened in a barn. Because I can't see any other reason why this wasn't just in the back room of the bar. Why jump someone outside of a bar, put them presumably in your car, drive all the way out to an apple farm when you are a supernatural being who has the ability to like conjure ghost cars and dogs? Like, I just don't.
But he wouldn't drive him there, though, would he? He would just zap him there.
Then why? It could have been anywhere. Why this apple farm? Why this barn? I can't get past.
Maybe that's where he's. So remember in You Can't Handle the Truth, the Veritas, she set up in like this ultra modern like house, right, filled with cats. Maybe this is like his version of that. Like he just likes a barn.
Yeah, maybe it's the dirt, because like Egypt and the Nile was known for having like really good soil for growing crops.
It is red dirt though, isn't it?
Yeah, so,
on the Nile.
So maybe that's why. Yeah, maybe okay, we don't know. All right, we have a link, like the red earth from the Nile. Fine.
Okay,
go with that.
Perfect.
He should have had a crocodile or something. I don't know.
Something. He like you said, he needed a headdress.
Because Osiris is like a bird god, right?
Yes.
Yeah, let me Google Osiris. Osiris.
I was thinking Horus, but Horus is the dog.
No, Horus is the like falcon. The dog is Anubis.
Anubis, that's right.
I think maybe
Anubis.
Osiris was just a guy. So he's not. Here we go. From Britannica website.
Perfect.
He's the god of death, essentially, for Egyptians.
Mm-hmm. I did know that one. Yeah. He's a guy who decides whether you go to heaven or hell, but their version of heaven or hell.
Also the god of fertility, which maybe explains the bar. With all the like young women working
or
there.
The woman.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And I think he was a guy. I think he didn't have a animal head. He looked like looks like a pharaoh almost. A big headdress though, and the beard thing. Mm-hmm. So he should have had that. But yeah,
he should have had that.
Anyway,
modern times.
Yeah.
So now that we have the theory and the other theory, we'll get back into the episode. So Sam asks where he was grabbed, and he says Neil's Tavern, and is like, oh, they connect the dots that it could have been where these two other victims were. And Sam continues to ask, like, is there anything else you can tell me? And he's like, you believe me? He's like, yeah, kind of. We specialize in crazy. He says, this judge, has he got a name? He's like, no, but there are these weird symbols. I was going to say, I feel like most people would recognize Egyptian symbols, but he was also a kid that robbed a liquor store, so he was probably not all that smart.
No, but you have a point in that he wrote them down for them, and then Sam didn't immediately go, these are hieroglyphics. They had to like call Bobby.
This is true.
And get him to like confirm it was ancient Egyptian. I'm like, Sam doesn't know this.
I wonder if Sam really even looked at it. He was more like, because he's already running out the door.
Yeah.
When he's got the thing, and Bobby says like these chicken scratches. So maybe it was Bobby like looking at it like, oh, well, it could be this, it could be that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Okay.
But no, you're more right than I am. This is just an excuse for Sam, but he should be able to recognize that.
Yeah.
Sam asks him to draw them, and Dean's like, Can you come with me? I want to talk to you for a second. Yeah. And then they go outside to have this conversation. This is where I was like, oh, they're actually really in a town, because you can see people walking around behind them. I was just like, can you imagine having this conversation in a very public place?
They do this all the freaking time. All the freaking time.
I know, but like most of the time you don't see people in the background.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I mean, unless it's in like a restaurant or something. But this is just like out on the street.
Whenever people have these conversations, I always think of this advert from McDonald's, and like there's like, it's talking about like overhearing people's conversations, and one of the conversations that I hear overhearing, and this was like an actual television, was like, and then he taped his face to a dog, and I always think about it because like, where did that come from? Why is it a McDonald's advert? Like, what? Yeah, I love that, and I always think about that when people are having like conversations outside, that you do hear, to be fair, some real crazy stuff.
Yes. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I mean, they admit to murder just casually.
Like, yeah, you actually do. It could be anything. Just, you know,
really could be. Yeah. So Sam's like, "What is it?" And Sam's like, "You know,
how about a drunk driver, Michael Vick, a murderer, and when did our black and white case turn to mud?"
Which is what we've been saying. I'm having a hard time not rooting for the ghost on this one. And Sam's like, well, it's not on us to judge. And he's like, yeah, no, of course it is. Everybody judges everything all day. Yeah. You know, like, how am I supposed to ignore what the guy did? And this is where Sam says, well, we've shot people, Dean, more than 2.
Dean, as well, technically killed an armed robber when he was deaf. Remember?
True.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he is quite of one to judge. But then Sam's right. Like, they can't judge people compared to themselves. Like, you can't do that anyway. But like, for them particularly, like, you can't hold anybody to a higher standard than yourself when they have literally shot people and killed. Yep. You know, I've talked about this last episode as well. Like, demon vessels who are just people. Mm-hmm.
Yep.
There's been angels as well. They're just people, and yet still, they just get stabbed with the demon knife. They don't even try to exorcise them anymore. I would say that is killing innocent people.
I would say that too. And also, I mean, it's shown in this episode. The Ronald. From the bank heist.
Yeah.
Like, they get people killed.
Yeah, they do get people killed. So, yeah, I just thought it was interesting. But I think this is Dean defending himself, knowing that he's done wrong. Like, you kind of he has to justify it in his own mind. That's almost what this episode is about. It's like, they do so many bad things that they kind of have to keep telling themselves that they're doing it for the right reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, actually, I'm going to get to it when we get to the judgment thing. But with this logic that Dean is presenting, he should not feel guilty about Amy. Mm-hmm. But obviously that's not the thing he feels guilty for.
Yes.
And I don't think Osiris could kill him for the guilt that he actually feels. I know there's like a difference, but the way that Osiris has been presented for all of his cases in this is that your actions led to someone's death. Mm-hmm. Whereas Amy's death, I'm getting into it now, he doesn't feel guilty about. It's the fact that he's keeping it a secret from Sam that he feels guilty about.
Which, and again, I was going to bring something later on, I wonder, was she actually going to be the third witness?
No, I don't think so
either.
No. It would have been amazing if it was John Winchester. Like, if Sam could do it again, like to say, this is going to be your third witness, Well, actually, no, because it doesn't matter because he pulled up Dean. But yeah.
See, I went the other direction. I thought it would have been really good if it was Cass.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he done corrupted that angel, led to his directly to his death.
True.
Yeah.
Yep. Very, very true. We'll get more into that. I think. I would like to get more into that when we get to there. And so, like, Dean sort of says, "Yeah, you know what? And if those ghosts come back to kick my ass, that's complete. Like, you know, that's a compelling case. Yeah. Like, if they want to kill me because I killed them, fine."
Mm-hmm.
Again,
that's what he said.
Linking into the end at last.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he said to that kid, right? Like, fine. You want to take vengeance on me? Do it. Yeah. Exactly.
Yep. It sounds like, so what, you just want to give up on this case? It's like, you know, I just wanted a simple day. Is that too much to ask? It's like, yes, Dean, it is too much to ask. You are Dean Winchester, fated one. You are never going to have a simple life.
No, sorry, man.
Your bloodlines and everything.
Cursed.
No. Yes, always. Sam's going to go check on the barn or look for the barn. Dean's going to go to the bar, and this is where Sam's like, to work or to drink? And Dean's like, I haven't decided. It's like, all right, Dean. Yeah. So back in the hotel room, Warren is like, okay, what's going on? Where did he go? He says, everything's fine. I'm going to go look at the farm, and like, you know, you have to come with me so you can show me where the barn is. And he's like, no, I'm not going to do that. It's red. It stands out. I'm not going back. You know, the people I killed, they're going to kill you, and just know. And Sam's trying to do his puppy dog eyes of like, look, you're safer with me. This reminded me of the man who knew too much with the girl who's like, he's like, you're safer with me than on your own.
So true. Never believe him when he says that. He's definitely going to die.
Never. Yeah, exactly. Sam's like, okay, fine, whatever. And just does a salt circle around a chair, gives him a TV remote. He's like, look, you'll be fine in the circle. Just don't leave the circle. I'm going to go out. And he's on the phone with Bobby. And the way he's like, stay put. Like, as he's on the phone. Yeah. It's kind of made me
It's good.
And he sends the symbols to Bobby.
Yeah.
As Dean walks into this bar, he gets bumped into by a dude. Yeah. And you're like, oh, well, that's obviously the dude. And he sits down, and a bartender comes over, and he's like, oh, well, I know why everybody comes here. And I was like, ugh. I do wish that she was connected with Osiris in some kind of way.
Yeah.
Like she could have been the scales of justice or something. Like mix those two together.
Yeah, or the cat goddess. What's her name? Can't remember. Begins with a B. Or something. You know, we could have seen like a cat behind the bar to like, I don't know. And you could have been like, what's with the cat? And she'd be like, oh, you know, it just hangs out here. It's just something. Yeah.
Something, yeah. Just to connect the two so that like, because she's the one who, like, you see her later on talking to somebody else who gets almost nabbed. So like, she's the person who is encouraging everybody to talk.
Yeah, but...
Which I know is what like the bartenders tend to do, kind of, but not really. Like, it just would have been better to have her included.
Yeah, because later on it's like, oh yeah, she actually isn't involved. She's just like she's just a bartender.
She's just a person.
But like, yeah, why not be involved?
Yeah, she's
I
just
don't
a
know.
bartender.
It would have been interesting.
Yeah. So he asks for a scotch and soda, but then decides just to go for a double.
That is a heinous. That is a heinous drink order. That is disgrace. Scotch and soda. I presume soda. I don't know.
It's like club soda.
Yeah.
So it's just like a seltzer.
No, disgusting. Kind of like, why? Yep. Why would you drink that? You don't water down your scotch, first of all. No. Unless it's like, okay, Coke is maybe acceptable. People may disagree with me on this, but like, maybe. But you can't, no. Dean.
Well, that's why he was like, actually, hold the soda.
Yeah, but that's even to ask for it. Ugh, I can imagine how that tastes, and it's disgusting.
What's really funny though is that like we've never heard him order a scotch and soda. It's always been straight up.
Yeah. So why even the pretense? I guess that's the point.
Why?
It's almost like a nod to Sam, like, I didn't really come here to drink, and then wait, no, I'm going to.
Yeah, exactly.
It's immediately like caved.
Yeah, exactly. Dean is like, oh, so you work the night shift? And said, no, why? You plan to make this a regular thing? He's like, no, I just got a few questions. Believe it or not, I'm a cop. And she's like, I believe it. You look like you've seen some crap. I'm sorry, I was off all week, but Frank will be back tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's how you disconnect her from the case, because she wasn't there when Neil was there, when Warren was there, when Chris was there.
I think that's it.
So, okay, fine. Turns out her name is Mia, and they get into like a conversation about like all of Dean's problems, basically. Is a work thing.
You ever do something behind someone's back because you had to?
You didn't have to, Dean. Like, that's just...
He just feels like he had
justification.
To, John Winchester, presumably.
Yeah, exactly. She then says, now you feel bad. Well, Dean, if you had to, why feel guilty? That doesn't make any sense. See, this is why she needed to be involved, because she's already implanting these thoughts. Like, she's implanting thoughts of guilt about someone's actions.
And
so Osiris can judge them to kill them.
And she's trying to figure out if they feel guilty about something as like, vetting them for this courtroom deal. She should have just been involved. Like, it would have been so easy. There's so many like Egyptian gods and goddesses to choose from that she could have like easily just hinted at. Or even they could have just given her like an Eye of Horus necklace. Like a very simple thing.
Something. Yeah. Yep. I wouldn't even care that she was like a blonde white woman.
Like, because they could take on any form, presumably, whatever. Like, it would have been fine. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we don't have enough room for the worms if we pop that can, sister.
And, like, indicates another drink. This is shot number 3 of a double.
It's like... So this whole thing that he goes through in the next, like, so many hours, he's like, buzzed for that. Just remember that, like...
Absolutely. Well, no, he's not, though, is he? Because he's an alcoholic.
That's very true. You're right. He's like functioning.
Yeah. Dean asks for another drink, and she's like, wait. I'm off in an hour. Like, so don't pass out on me, because obviously.
Yeah.
She's, again, is this all leading to her being involved?
No.
That's whatever. Nope, they didn't want to do that. And Dean says, okay, I'll switch the beer. And she's like, good choice. Yeah. So Sam's found the barn, because obviously it's big red in the middle of the field. You're going to find it. Bobby then calls him and informs him that it's definitely Egyptian. So, maybe on the phone he had said it was Egyptian, because it's definitely Egyptian. Kind of implies that Sam had a theory. And it's from the Book of the Dead. And Bobby's like, okay, so is the god Osiris, real authoritarian type. He gets a hold of you. He's judge, jury, and executioner. Law says that he can see directly into humans' hearts. He weighs the guilt. If he finds more than a feather's worth, boom, you're done. Yeah. And Sam's like, so what's he doing here? And Bobby's like, well, I guess he just sort of pops up from every now and then, and then disappears. And that's all he's got. And Bobby's like, you know what that means, right? It's like, yeah, we've got to find him before he goes underground again. He's like,
no, you idiot. It means you two got to get the hell out of Dodge. This guy hones in on people that feel guilty. Who does that sound like to you?
Clearly implying Dean.
Yeah, of course.
It then cuts to Neil's tavern, where Dean has the best pep talk to himself.
Been a while. Enjoy yourself. It's nothing but a ground ball. You just gotta put your mitt down. You are Dean Winchester. This is what you do.
Because Cass has been around. You haven't done this in a while.
Right, yeah. He's like not slept with a woman for... I was trying to think like when they'd imply like he'd last hooked up with someone, and it's been a while. Not since...
Well, I guess because he was with Lisa, right, for most of the last season.
Yeah, that's so true. So,
and then he felt guilty.
Not since Lisa, surely. No. So, and that's been, well, like a while.
Yeah. I guess Osiris can't bring people who are alive to the trial. It's only people who are dead, because it could have been Lisa and Ben, even though he has actually absolved himself of that because he erased their memories.
Yeah.
But there you go.
Okay, fine. But yeah, I do love this pep talk. Like, I don't. You are Dean Winchester.
This is what you do. It's like, this is what you did.
And also, like, it's just showing how much of his personality is just an act. Because it's like, do you know what I mean? Because you're telling yourself that you are yourself, like the idea of yourself that you have in your mind. Like, maybe that's not you if you're having to tell yourself that you act a certain way. Like, the self-awareness is zero.
Absolutely. And like, why are you making like baseball references? I just...
It's like the whole like bass thing, right? You know?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Love it so much.
It was great. It was really, really good. But you owe yourself. Okay, sure. With a one night stand where you're slightly buzzed. Okay.
It's the whole guilt thing as well still, isn't it? 'Cause it's like, you deserve this. Like, even though you've done bad things recently, like, you deserve to hook up with this lady.
Exactly. His phone then rings. He takes it out of his pocket, and as he goes to answer it, he gets like nabbed.
Yeah.
And his phone falls to the ground.
Sam's he goes back and forth. Like, you're right, he goes back and forth between this barn so many freaking times.
So actually, I think you're right. I think Osiris does physically take them to the barn.
It takes so long.
Because Sam is right there. So why would they would have crossed each other in the road.
Yeah, they actually would have done. Like, they would have driven past each other, which is so funny. That's so good. Because Sam's at the barn trying to ring Dean, and obviously he's not answering. And then we cut back to the Neil's Tavern, and now Sam is there trying to find Dean.
So he, the phone rings and the bartender.
Oh yeah,
up.
no, you're right. Yeah, okay, fine. So yeah, he rings Dean's phone. Mia finds Dean's phone and is like, "Oh, I was supposed to meet up with him," and like, "Is this Dean's phone?" And Sam's like, "Yeah," and he's like, "Oh, he was supposed to meet me here." So I guess Sam does stay at the. I'm so confused by this. It's fine. Don't worry.
No, he comes.
It works.
He does come.
He does come back. Yeah. Right. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because he says like, "Where are you? I can be right there." Fine. Okay. It's just very much back. It's just a lot back and forth. Okay. It's very confusing.
Yep.
We see Warren back in the motel room, and like ghost stuff is happening.
Yep.
He hears like a window break or something, and he gets up and like breaks the salt circle himself with his foot, like some kind of amateur.
Yeah. Nobody listens to the giant.
No, nobody listens to him. Like, come on, it's life and death, man. You know weird stuff is happening. Like, listen to the guys who claim that they know what's going on. I don't know.
That's very true. Yeah.
They would have got him anyway. We see the ghosts of this man and woman that presumably the people that he shot. And he like runs away from them and he's apologizing and things, but the man ghost just goes, "You did it to us," and you hear the gunshot.
Yep.
Outside the tavern, Sam has now arrived and Mia's giving him Dean's phone. And he's like, "Where do you find this phone?" It's just like on the ground here. And then the exact spot, like he finds some this red dirt. It's just like, what? Like, does this guy never clean his shoes? Like, what is this? I don't know.
Yeah, right.
I feel like
Does it got under his nails?
And like, particularly if he's actually physically going back and forth towards that apple farm. First of all, Dean then should have had red dirt on him because they all like traipsed around there. Oh no, they didn't end up going there, to be fair. No, okay, all right, no, that's fine. Because they picked up Warren.
What do you mean?
In the end. But Sam's been there, but Dean hasn't.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just feels like, why?
When they, but when he leaves, there should be red dirt.
I guess we agreed that the red dirt is like an Egyptian thing, so maybe he just like sheds it.
As he's changing, like he drops his clothes on the floor and like it's kind of a dirty person, or not a messy person.
It's like demons, like, they sprinkle the little cone of sulfur, just like that.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep.
So then Sam drives back to the bar. Holding a shotgun. Dean's chained to a chair. I can't believe they didn't make like a Star Trek Next Generation reference here, because this is basically what happened. Like, this is how Q judges the like Enterprise crew in the very first episode. It's all like courtroom, like, I'm judging you and I'm judging all of humanity, and the amount of Star Trek references that Dean makes in this season and last season, I just can't believe he didn't like make some reference to Q. I don't know.
It's because it wasn't written by Ben Edlund. So that's why.
Yeah. Ben Edlund would have made a Star Trek reference there.
He would have.
So, like, there's loads of, like, statues and stuff, and, like, Dean makes this point of, like, really, Warren, you only notice those, like, symbols. There's, like, loads of Egyptian stuff. It's funny.
Right. That's true. I forgot. That's so true.
And, like, Osiris is on a throne. And, like, I made a point earlier that they should have spent money on his costuming because it is not good enough for, like, God of the Dead. He's just wearing, like, a black sheet, essentially, with
plastic
some very
puffs and a
fake
plastic
gold.
like...
Yeah, it's not good. Like, I wanted to see something better. They should have fully glammed him up. Like, I want to see, like, full eyeliner, makeup, you know?
I guess if we're going with how they've sort of portrayed some of the gods before, which they've kind of dropped a little bit, but like I think of the pagan gods, and then all of the whatever that episode was with all of them, I can't remember right now. They're all talking about how, you know, they are less powerful now because they don't have the worshippers and everything like that. So maybe this is a reflection of his actual power, because obviously he's an ancient Egyptian god. Like, how many people are actually worshipping Osiris?
He's just like been to the party
day and age
and bought himself on an Egyptian outfit. Yeah, that would have also been good, and they could have like made a reference about it, like, you look tacky, man. You know?
Right?
I don't
know. Like, the only vaguely good thing about his costuming was his like little staff thing. Cool. But, like, even that, I feel like, is that actually correct for his...
I think he does. I think he does have a staff thingy, a crook. Like a... Okay. Yeah, I think that is a thing.
Oh, it's got the ant thing at the top, right?
You know, in the pictures of him that I'm looking at from the Britannica Encyclopedia, he's got, like, the crook and the flail thingy. You know,
Oh, okay.
But yeah. So fine, okay, I'm with that. But he could have been holding it, like, you know, like Egyptian gods do, with his arms crossed.
Why were there no scales?
And that there should have been, and we should have seen them like moving, right? So to add some jeopardy.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's such a simple effect. Like, you can just buy those in like any antique shops and like good brass scales. You know.
Exactly.
I don't know. It's just I feel like they dropped the ball on this one. It wasn't like cool enough.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. They spent all the money on those freaking dog statue things.
Yeah, they totally did. They're like, oh yeah, we bought some dog statues and now we have no budget left for like anything else. So we're gonna have to shoot this in the dark to show that we're just like in some barn we haven't had time to jazz up.
Decorate, yeah. Because like surely he'd be in like, well, no, actually, because it's after you've died, so they can do whatever you want in the afterlife. So, but okay, no,
it's
I'm
fine.
not going to get into it. I'm not going to get into it.
It's cool. We're yeah.
I've had to stop myself so many
times. I know. I don't know what it is about this. Like, I was just like, come on, just do more. Do more with this.
I guess is another supernatural like blunder thing that where they already have like established lore, and yet they don't. They go like halfway with it rather than like
precisely that,
and not even halfway. It's just like a bit of the way.
I just think they had no budget. I think season 7 they didn't have anything left. I decided they spent it all on the Leviathan visual effects, and then they're like, oh no, we have nothing left.
Shit.
Yeah. Osiris like makes some sort of like quips at him about like the chains are Houdini proof, like don't even bother. Do you want to talk about charges? Dean's like, can't jump a guy when he's sober. You know. So yeah, because he had been drinking. Osiris had been listening to him talking to the waitress. Apparently that's what he does. Like, she isn't involved, but he just like eavesdrops on their conversations. Fine.
Yeah.
And then he says, speaking of, you're gonna skulk there all night, Sam. And Sam does like a little like, here I am. Hey. So Osiris is like, nice job finding us. I assume you figured out who I am too. And Sam's like, yeah. you're Osiris, an Egyptian god. He tries to like send Sam away because presumably he just wants Dean to like. He doesn't know anything about Sam because he hasn't had an in-depth conversation with a waitress.
Right. So much for like being able to look into the hearts of people. Maybe he did, and was like dismissed him as in like, oh yeah, I can gain nothing from
because
you.
he does say that because Sam says, look, if anyone should be on trial, it's me, and Osiris says that's for me to decide. Now go away. So I think he did already look in Sam's heart and be like, yeah, I can't kill this guy, so there's no point. Yeah,
exactly.
Sam pulls out his lawyer boy card.
But he has the right to an attorney, doesn't he?
Huh.
Let me defend him.
Well, that's unusual.
Are you going to respect his rights or not?
Cyrus is like, fine, whatever, this is funny.
Right. Osiris as Osiris, hilarious.
Yeah, it was great. Like, I really enjoyed his like sass. He's just like having fun with it. It was really good. Dean makes a point that Sam's not a lawyer, and Sam's like, I was pre-law. Dean's like, yeah, pre. Osiris says, like, the list of witnesses I can call endless. And Sam just immediately just shouts objection, and he just carries on doing this.
Phoenix Wright style.
It was so Phoenix Wright. Like, honestly. Objection! He just slams his hand on the table, like, honestly. And, like, he's calling objection for, like, no reason, essentially. Like, it doesn't even get past Osiris. Eventually he comes up with something. He's like, witness is being called without prior notice. And Dean's like, yeah! And Sam just says, I saw that on The Good Wife. Not at law school, though. No. Maybe he was never going to be a good lawyer.
Because he never got
there. Osiris says, like, yes, very fine objection.
Denied.
What?
Why? Because I'm the judge, son. Now stop objecting, or I'll find you in contempt. That is, kill you.
So I advise you to let me move along. And the prosecution calls Joanna Beth Harvell to the stand. And it's all like, whoa. They've really ghosted her up. I'm so glad they got her back for this.
They did.
I did like this.
Yeah. It was a good choice. It was a really good choice, actually.
Yeah, because it's definitely someone you're like, oh yeah, he does feel guilty about her death. You know?
Yep.
And I like the fact that they didn't lean into like the romance that was supposedly blossoming between them, and it was more like younger sister vibes. Even the comparison that they make between Joe and Sam about him ruining like both their lives, you're like, oh yeah, like that was good.
Yeah.
So Osiris like introduces her, asks what her relationship is, and she just says we worked together, and we get this like whole flashback of everything they did, them like kind of having this love-hate relationship of hunting and each other and all this kind of stuff. And he says, isn't it true that you admired him? And she said, well, as a hunter, yeah. As a guy, he was kind of a jerk. And Dean's just kind of like, yeah. I am. So Osiris is like, well, you saw him as a mentor? And she's like, well, I wouldn't put it like that. So she clearly has like control of her faculties. Like she wants to defend Dean in this. Yeah. She seems to know why she's there. And doesn't like outright just like sell him out in vengeance. She clearly does still respect him.
So Osiris does say, like, you know, you have to tell the truth to, I think, both Sam and Dean. So, like, all of what she is saying is true. It's just Osiris is being really manipulative and, like, saying, this is the reasons why you should feel guilty. And, like, this is how you saw him, right? And it's like, well, no. Yeah. Like, stop putting words in my mouth.
I think that's it. And, like, it's very courtroom TV, like, you know, like, that kind of stuff. When she says he's not a mentor, he's like, well, how would you put it? And she's like, I don't know, I trusted him. So if you're trying to say he was a bad guy or something, and then he cuts her off and says, was it hard working with him, considering your feelings? And she's like, no, what feelings? Which I enjoyed. And he says, you would have done quite a bit for him, followed him into any battle. And she, again, like pushes back, like, I know what you're getting at, it's bull. He says, oh, you know, so Dean had nothing to do with your first case, the one that started it all. And again, we go back to a flashback of no exit and all that kind of stuff that happened. Obviously, she got trapped in that box and nearly died. And So So Osiris is going, no feelings at all. You would have chosen the exact same road, ended up in that hardware store holding the fuse. And Dean's like, hey, you're putting words in her mouth. And then, like, Osiris points his hand towards him, and Dean, like, it's very like Star Wars force choking. He's like,
right.
And he just says, keep him under control, counsel, or I'll remove his tongue. And then he hands Joe over to Sam for questioning. And Sam just goes, like, the immediate obvious route of, like, hey, what about your dad, Joe? And she says, like, her relationship with him was good, that she idolized him. And so Sam's like,
So why'd you start? To impress some loudmouth ass you just met? Or because you wanted to be like your dad?
Daddy issues. Definitely.
so they're kind of working together to get around this. And then she says, definitely, like, listen, Dean, I don't, and then she gets cut off. And I think she was going to say, like, she kind of says it later, like, I don't blame you for what happened.
Yeah.
Because Osiris just dismisses her and she disappears. So Osiris gives him a moment before he calls the next witness, and Sam's like, okay, who's the next witness? He looks at you like you'd know, and Dean's like, I've got no clue. This whole thing's like a friggin' episode of Pee-wee's Playhouse. I like the whole point is, like, it's supposed to be thinking that it's Amy Pond. I think, like, it's building up to that. I'm assuming that's who he thinks Osiris is going to call, just to, like, make a rift between them. But so Osiris calls Sam Winchester to the stand.
So I mean, this is where, like, things start to go a bit skewy, right? Because, like I said, Osiris has been calling back people that all or events that have led to death in some kind of way. And, like, the thing, I'm curious to see how Christopher Fisher's one would have gone, because it's like dogs barking at him. Like, what?
That's so true. That's really funny.
But then, like, it suddenly changes from, I guess, seeing Joe didn't have the right effect because, like, she doesn't blame him, whereas everybody else are vengeful ghosts, basically. So, like, bringing Sam up, then you can start to get a different kind of guilt, which is what I was talking about.
Because ultimately it's not about the witnesses, it's about how Dean feels about them and the things that they're talking about, right? It's weighing the guilt in his heart. It's not about proving anything. He says it even, like, it's all up to Dean, really, about what the outcome of this trial. So Osiris says to Sam, like, not exactly the life you expected, is it? And Sam's like, the details are a little different. He's like, oh yeah, for a while there, you were going to be a real lawyer, marry Jess. And Sam just says, that was a long time ago. And he says, but were you not happily out of the family racket until Dean showed back up in that gas guzzler? Ah, the truth now. And then we get flashbacks to, like, Pilot, them, like, fighting, the bridge, Jess on the ceiling, all that stuff. And he's like, that had quite a domino effect. Come back, your girl's dead. And Sam says, well, that wasn't his fault. But, like, this, it cuts to Dean every now and then, and you see his face is like, this is my fault. Like, you can see that he blames himself for that. And obviously he does. He's like a lesson in guilt. Like, he blames himself for everything. Like, everything. Before he gets, like, a scratch on the Impala, and he's like, no, what have I done? I've disappointed my father again. Every day. It's just another thing. And, Sam says it wasn't his fault, but he says, like, sure, and neither is everything that came after that. All the death, the blood, hanging on by a thread, none of that is on Dean directly. And we get loads of flashbacks again, like, there's so many. Lots of Dean punching Sam, like, and that's fair enough, I feel. Like, you should feel good about that, man.
Yeah.
Dean shoving Ben, Ronald being shot, which was just a throwback. I was like, oh yeah, he did get killed.
He did.
Pamela dying, Joe dying, John's funeral, John's grave again, like, Sam dying in the end of season 2. Oh yeah, like Dean and Lisa when she got stabbed, and then there's like Dean telling Sam about torturing people in hell. Like, he's done a lot of stuff, to be fair.
He's
Like,
done a lot
this
of
was
stuff,
only really the absolute crux of it. I am disappointed there was no Cass in the going into the lake there.
I know, like
It feels like a
Cass is completely forgotten.
or like even exploding, you know.
Yeah,
because Cat
with the jacket.
like completely absent from this. Like, it did feel weird because like he's the other main character that has died in all of this, as far as we know,
and
right?
Like, I mean, you could have shown Cass exploding at the end of season 5. You could have shown,
which was directly Dean's fault. Like he encouraged him to rebel from heaven. He taught him to be a smart ass and like bait the devil. Like, yeah.
Oh no, sorry, that was, Bobby was the one who got exploded. Never mind.
No, Cass got exploded. Cass got
Cass got exploded. Yeah.
Bobby got his neck broken, right? Yeah,
that's right. Yes.
So yeah,
Bobby was absent from this too.
That's very true.
I mean, because Bobby's not dead. I guess
they could have showed Bobby's like burnt out house. You know, that happened recently.
It's true.
There's a lot of things.
Yeah.
To be fair, like there's so many.
I mean, I guess I was gonna say I guess it's all about things like the people who have died, but actually it's really not. It's like a mixture of like people he's hurt.
Yeah, and I feel like Cass's absence was palpable in that because
it was.
He is directly responsible for what happened to Cass, like the whole rebelling from heaven, trying to fix things, them not helping him in the end, so he felt like he had to take on the Leviathan. Like they are kind of very much culpable for him exploding in a lake, you know. Anyway.
Yep.
So Osiris says,
But don't you think that your brother dragged you back into that catastrophic mess because he'd rather damn you with him than be alone?
And like he directs that at Sam, and everyone just like stops like, it's kind of true. Like, you see them kind of look at each other, and Dean's like, yeah, that's kind of true. And Sam's just like, no, I would have got pulled in one way or another. And Sam makes a point like, you know that, and Sam's like, I'm pretty sure.
The thing is, it's being confirmed.
Yeah, we know this.
The whole point was that Azazel was getting him to join his army. Like it's a bit of a rewrite of history when that's said, but like it was told to him directly that this would have happened one way.
That is very true.
So he had to get back.
Yeah, that is like it would have happened. It was destiny, but that's not how Dean sees it. And that's the point, right? And Sam says, like, you know, I'm positive. And then Osiris makes this point, like, I believe you. Hey, if it was about convincing me, you know, I would say. And then Sam's like, what? He's like, oh, no, I don't decide anything. I don't decide Dean's guilt. I just weigh the guilt that's already there. This is solely about how Dean feels way deep down. Them's the breaks. And Sam's like, wait, if Dean believes he's innocent, then he is. And this is the moment they knew they were screwed. But like, yeah.
Well, this is when Sam comes up with how to
beat this game. So he says, like, you know, it's just why do I bring up the past? To see if he feels like dog food about it. People want to be judged, they really do. When your heart's heavy, let me tell you, real punishments are mercy. And then Sam says, like, I want to call Dean to the stand. But Osiris allows it because, again, it's funny, I guess. And so Sam is like, he knows how Dean's mind works, so he's just going to convince him that none of it was his fault. So he's like, you know, when you came and got me, did you know Jess would die or any of it? And he's like, no. He's like, right, how could you? Are you psychic? And he's like, that's a question. He's like, no.
Great. So why would you feel guilty about not predicting the future?
I guess it doesn't make any sense. Actually, no, I don't.
This is such like armchair psychology that Sam is like so simple. Sam's like, what about Jo? Did you kill her? And he's like, no. He's like, don't you just feel sad that she's dead? And that just blows.
Choice of words, Sam. Phrasing. Come on.
But Dean agrees. He's like, yeah, it was just sad. I don't feel killing him. He just plays so dumb here, and like I love it, but like it's so simplifying this. But fine. Osiris is like fine, very engaging. And Sam finally says like, Dean, does this really feel like it's on you? Dean's like, no, not really. It's not on me. And he's like,
Then is your heart heavy with guilt or just plain heavy and none of this guy's business?
What you said, the second thing.
so Osiris is kind of impressed. He's like, oh, all right, because I enjoyed that, I'm going to be generous and ask, Dean, do you want me to call my last witness? And again, it flashes back to Amy Pond. So like it was going to be, the show wants us to think it was going to be her. And that's why I feel like if he'd actually called the final witness and then it wasn't her, that would have been really good because it would have like pulled that rug.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So before we move on, we start to sort of talk about who we think the third witness should have been. I think it should have been John. So that it would never be John, but I would want it to be John because it would have cemented the point that Sam just got through to Dean, that it's not your fault because our dad is an asshole.
Yeah, that's so true.
And like all the stuff that he has trained us to do makes some of the actions that we have to take you can't take accountability from them, but like a lot of the things that they do is because of John Manchester and the training and everything like that. And it also would be like a point of like, well, actually, I'm actually doing quite well with keeping Sam somewhat alive. I know Sam's not great right now, but I feel like it would have been a bit of more of a booster. But Osiris is picking people that are triggers for Sam, for Dean, sorry. So I don't know who he would actually
pick. John would have been really good because I would have wanted to be like him to be like, I'm real disappointed in you.
Yeah, right.
It would have been such a gut punch. Like, it would have been so good. Like, I can't believe where you boys have got to. Or like, I guess he could. It's supernatural, so they would have had him go like, I'm really proud of you and all that you've done and everything. And that's not true. Like, you know deep down he would never say. I know they bring him back later on or whatever, and he says all that stuff, but like, you're like, John Winchester would never. He would never. Would never. I think Cass would have been a good choice, only because like he would like it would have been easy to have him be the final witness as well, just like in terms of actor availability. But like as I said, Dean kind of is directly responsible for him rebelling from heaven, getting exploded, like them not helping him enough, all this kind of stuff. Like that is very recent guilt. But then you kind of need someone to refute the point that he's guilty for this to work. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, so I mean, Cass would absolve him though, because he would have been because he started to on the floor when he was on the floor, like trying to when they tried to reopen Purgatory. He was trying to get Dean to forgive him for all of his actions.
Yeah, that's true. Like, oh yeah, none of this was on you. Like, I chose to rebel. Yeah, I think I would have been good. I think it would have been good. And like I say, I it's happened recently, so. But they want us to focus on this like morality issue of him and Amy Pond, and I do kind of get that too, because it would be weird not to address it, as I said in that episode where I thought they didn't. So fine. Yeah.
But like also, like I said, he doesn't feel guilty about killing her. He feels guilty about lying to Sam.
And those are two different things.
Which I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, they're two very different things. And I don't know what Osiris, I mean, he says he's just measuring guilt. Yeah. But he's picking people who have like guilt in terms of death, because you can have guilt for like, I don't know, weird things that don't involve crime. Yeah,
see, you're right. That's why Lisa and Ben wouldn't have worked. I don't think he feels guilty about that. He feels like he made the right decision. Yeah. So I mean, there are a lot. They could have brought back Ronald. They even showed him in the flashback. That would have been a good one. But yeah, we have to continue on the storyline. So I think Amy Pond is a good one. And you're right, he doesn't want Sam to find out because that's the thing he actually feels guilty about. And that's why Osiris finds him guilty. Yeah. Yeah. Ultimately.
But he's just changed up which guilt he's...
Yeah. Because Sam managed to convince Dean that none of the events that happened in the apocalypse were his fault, but Amy is something that he directly did and then lied about. So, yeah, you can't really get away from that one. There was always going to be something.
It's not the first time he's done it.
Yeah, exactly. There was always going to be something that they could find. Because, like, Dean's guilt is endless and, like, he contains multitudes, you know?
Yep.
So, yeah, Osiris is like, you know, do you want me to call my last witness or have we had enough? And Dean's like, oh, my God. And he's like, enough Ally McBealing. Just drop the hammer, will you? And Sam's like, well, no, wait, he's giving us more time. And Dean's just like, it's not going to make a difference. So he really doesn't want him to find out about this. Osiris bangs his staff on the ground and says, I find you, Dean Winchester, guilty in your heart and sentence you to die. I'd suggest you get your affairs in order quickly. Yeah.
So up until this point, they've kind of forgotten about Warren.
So bad.
It is really bad. And when they arrive back at the hotel, they see that it's all like cornered off and they see a body being pulled away on a stretcher. They go up into the room and they see that the salt circle is being broken. Then they're like, damn it. You know, I told him like to stay. Yeah. Dean's like, Osiris would have got him one way or another. Guy's batting 1,000. And Sam's like, there's still time. We can figure this out.
Dean is so unbothered that he's going to die. He's just like,
he is.
Whatever.
Yeah. Oh. Yep. This is season 3 all over again. Just like compressed. And Sam is trying to find a way to like save him, like he did in season 3. He gets on the phone with Bobby. Like Bobby's, I don't know where Bobby is when Sam calls him the first time, and now he's driving. I want to know. I need another weekend at Bobby's. Like, what's he doing? What's going on with him? Where is he? What's he doing? Yeah, because presumably they've moved on from Montana because last we heard the Leviathan were 2 days behind. Anyway, I'm gonna push that aside.
We'll find out next episode. Probably not.
Probably not. You're right about that. So Bobby's like has found a way to give Osiris a dirt nap, but it's puts him out for a couple centuries, and it's worked a few times since the pharaohs. Yeah. Sam's like, so it's only temporary. Like, I can't completely kill this god. Like, come on.
But they have done previously, I guess. So. They have killed some gods.
A couple times.
So fair enough to think that maybe they could.
Long temporary. I say we slap that Band-Aid on and leave finding a cure to some hunter in a spacesuit.
Just going back again to what I've said. I'm obsessed with this in a minute. This is how they could have had the Kitsune's kid, like Amy Pond's kid, kill Dean at the end of this, be like, oh yeah, Cyrus's final like revenge just took a while because he stabbed him with a ram's horn. Yeah. Just I don't know why. Like it would have been. I'm still mad about it. I think I'm gonna stay. Yeah. I think. I don't know. Just it was so perfect an ending. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna kill off Dean, like this would have been the perfect weird callback. Like it would have been so good. I'm not gonna go back into it because I went into it last time. But they even have a setup for like a temporary Osiris dying kind of thing. I know it's supposed to be centuries, whatever, I don't care about that. Supernatural break enough laws. Like, it could have all been tied into that.
And also, like, the thing is, like, so it needs to be a ram's horn, and he finds one in a synagogue, and it's like being treated because they use it in some kind of ceremony. I don't know what it is. But, like, it could have been that, like, Osiris comes back and it's like that ram's horn wasn't XYZ, like
didn't come from the right ram,
but it still worked. Or not even that. It's just literally because it's been treated and like hollowed out and all this kind of stuff. So it's not a complete ram's horn. It's just like a.
I know, right? The setup is there. I don't understand how you. I don't know. It's fine. It's not fine. It's fine.
Yep. So Dean's like, so you're gonna steal from a temple now? Like, come on, it's a new low. It's like, I'm pretty sure they've done worse things than steal from a temple. They have, in fact.
Like that guy's like meteorite collection or whatever when they were trying to summon death. That was bad.
Right. That was really bad.
They held those people hostage. They made them meet the embodiment of
and then
death.
exposed them to death.
Exactly.
Well, I guess they're not going to be scared at
That's
the
true.
end.
Yeah.
Anyway. So Dean is just like drinking himself. Like, he does not care. He's like, Sam is trying to convince him, like, look, you're on death row. Quit drinking around. Give me the keys. So I thought it was interesting that he knew that Joe was going to come after him. I thought he was going to send Amy, actually.
Yeah.
As the third witness.
Because, like, he absolved himself of the guilt from Joe in the courtroom. He was like, yeah, it wasn't my fault. I feel like he knew that because out of the three, it was the one that would hurt him the most. Like, he couldn't send Sam because he's still alive. Amy, like, as we said, like, he doesn't actually really care that he killed her. It's just the guilt of not telling Sam. So it's Sam related also. Yeah. Joe is the one that would hurt. Yeah. An actual punishment.
Yep. And Osiris said that, people like to be judged and punished. I don't know about that.
I think Dean likes to be judged and punished. I feel like he almost expects it in his life. No. So he's just like, when it comes, he's just like, okay, this is what I deserve now. That's why it was like,
I guess so. Yeah,
going to hell was not a big deal for him. He's like, yeah, I deserve this.
True. Yeah. So Sam's like, you're a hunter. You know how to deal with ghosts. And he's like, so I get to kill her again. Thanks. So he's kind of gone back on it. Yeah. Because he already said that he didn't kill her. And now he's already reneged on. Anyway, whatever.
Sam was not successful in getting rid of his guilt. Like, he was trying to talk him out of it. But, like, Dean is just a guilt factory.
He is. Yep. And he even says it here. You didn't kill her, Dean. I'll hurry. Dean makes a salt circle around him. And, like, he tells Joe that she can come on out. Sam is in the synagogue. And as he goes for the ram's horn, a rabbi appears. And he's like, I'm guessing you're not here for a bar mitzvah lesson. And he's like, And then we cut back to the tavern for a second, because we see Mia talking to somebody else, a woman, and Osiris is there watching, because he never has a break. He's got to get in all his souls. We go back to the hotel room, and Joe is there, and it's implied that, or I think she even says this, that Osiris is like making her do everything. Like, she's not doing this on her own volition. And Joe's like, well, no, you don't actually, you deserve better. You don't need to do this. And Dean's like, no, you deserve better, Joe. So, and Sam somehow got the ram's horn, hopefully in a good way, but this is Sam, so probably
I reckon he just booked it. I reckon he just ran.
Yeah. I think because the rabbi that came in was kind of like a short, balding man, so it's just like he probably just pushed him out. Bye!
Ridiculous.
And Joe is just convincing Dean that, like, her life was good, that she doesn't regret anything that she did. Again, we start to get like a little bit of something here, because Dean's like, you were a kid, and Joe was like, not true. You and Sam,
Hunters are never kids. I never was. I didn't even stop to think about it.
It's not your fault. It wasn't on you.
No, but I didn't want to do it alone.
No, the right thing would be to send your ass back to your mum. And it's like, you're not taking into account that, like, what Joe said, she idolized her dad. She wanted to be a hunter before she met Dean.
Yeah, but like I said, he's a guilt factory. Like, of course, his involvement like pushed her over the edge to become a hunter. I think I do like what we get here from Dean, of like his acknowledgement that like he didn't have a childhood, and because of that he should have been more aware of her getting into the life at like a young age. But then he also does acknowledge that because of his upbringing, he didn't even really think about the fact that she was young, and it was like that she shouldn't be getting involved.
A weird thing.
Which is like, that's quite a good amount of self-awareness that I don't feel like he had previously.
True, but it just doesn't go anywhere.
No, not really. I mean, there is kind of I feel like by the time we get to Lebanon, when we do see John Winchester again, I feel like there has been some kind of understanding from Dean that his childhood was robbed from him. Like, it was taken from him by John in a way that is not really addressed in maybe like the first 5 seasons of Supernatural. there is that I think there is a bit of growth there. There's a few episodes where it's addressed, I feel, in a few different ways. So it's good, because I think it's very easy to come into the show and be like, oh yeah, John Winchester's just like a badass. He raised his kids to be badasses. But like, not really. They're very flawed people because of how he raised them.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I like the acknowledgement of like that is the case. But yeah, like it's a very throwaway line here, but I feel like they address this better later on. I do like the start of building on that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And also the acknowledgement that he doesn't want to do this alone.
Yes, which was mentioned in the courtroom, right? Yeah. Yeah.
The thing is, like, hunters are usually alone because they usually find out in a situation that supernatural things have happened, like somebody has died in their family or some event has happened that has caused them to come face to face with that. Whereas this is a completely different situation where you were forced into this. You travel together all the time with other hunters. Like your whole situation was completely different. So of course you don't know how to do it alone.
Right. And there was an episode, probably it's season 1, where they're dressed in like boiler suits. I can't remember the episode. And he's talking to Sam and he pretty much says to him that exact thing. Like, I didn't want to do this alone. That's why I came to get you. And Sam like calls him out on it. Like precisely all of this. So we've known it. Like, that's what I mean. Like, this is nothing new for Dean. Like, we know he doesn't like to be alone. That he's not good when he's alone.
Yeah.
He's not a very good hunter when he's alone, really. Because he tends to just get like extremely depressed. And that he'll do anything to save his family to avoid being alone, even if it means hurting other people. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, it's. I guess it's to hear him admit it, you know, that like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Joe's like, yeah, that would never have worked. Like, sending me back to my mum. Like, no. She then says, well, he was right about one thing. And he's like, oh, your massive crush on me. He's like, and she just sort of smiles and dismisses that. It's like, shut up. You carry all kinds of crap. You don't have to. You know, it gets clearer when you're dead.
Well, in that case, you should be able to see that I am 90% crap. I get rid of that, what then?
It's just like, no. This is... Dean.
This was good. I like this line of like, if you get rid of that, what am I? Because we had earlier in the episode Dean giving himself this like pep talk of like, you are Dean Winchester, this is who you are, you're a womanizer who drinks and like hooks up with random women, like this is what you deserve, this is, you know. And I know we're supposed to see it in like a comedic way, but also it's kind of like, this is it, right? This is his 90% crap. What is he without his like performative exterior? Like, who is he? Ultimately, he's like someone who just wants to have a family and settle down and not have to deal with any of this monster hunting stuff or even saving the world. I think deep down as well, like he kind of wants to kind of stop caring about other people so much, you know? Like he just wants to focus on his own life.
Too,
like when he was with Lisa and Ben.
He wants things to be black and white.
Yeah. Because he so reluctantly gets pulled back into the life when Sam finds him with Lisa and Ben. He's like, oh my God, I have to care about stuff again. You know, like all the stuff outside my own bubble, I have to care about it again. I have to do all this stuff like I don't want to.
And it just leads to death.
It just leads to more death. But that's who he is. And I think he kind of knows that. I think with Lisa and Ben, he was the closest to like who he actually is. And all of this hunting stuff is and that's why he's so reluctant to be doing it, right? He's just like, yeah, it's all just crap.
Yep.
And then Joe says, you really want to die not knowing Dean? And then he does. He just still does. Like, we never get, and Lisa and Ben was the closest he ever got to being happy. And then he goes through all the crap again and has to build up all this performative stuff. And then he dies again without ever having that, like, domesticity that he wanted. It's tragic.
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
And he got kind of close, right? with the bunker and Jack and Cass and Sam, like they almost, but things kept happening so that, you know, Cass was expelled from the bunker, then Jack was expelled from the bunker, Mary came back, but it's just so, it's like just out of arm's reach.
Yeah, because for Dean, like, no one stuck around. Like, although we say, like, oh, you know, yeah, he had this with Cass. Like, Cass never stayed. He was also always off doing something.
True.
You know, Jack left to become God. Mary was constantly leaving them to go do Men of Letters stuff. You know, and even I think he could see that he was almost like losing Sam to like becoming this leader of the hunters at one point. Mm-hmm. So there was just no kind of foundation for that. But it was the closest, I agree, it's the closest they got. And it would have been something that after, you know, they defeat God could have worked. Mm-hmm. Like it could have been their version of domesticity and normality. And then everyone died, so it's fine, you know.
Yeah, there I go. So Jo says it's time, and she goes over to the stove and turns on the gas, and it's reminiscent of how she died in Abandon All Hope, and it sort of clicks for Dean that this is how he would go because it's Jo. Mm-hmm. Back at Neil's tavern, the woman who was talking to the bartender, Maya, she leaves, and Osiris is waiting around the corner and goes to nab her. Jo's like, come on, like, I used to hunt ghosts, like, I know how to do all their tricks, and she freezes over the window and cracks it or breaks it, so the wind comes and, like, breaks the salt circle, so she goes into the circle. Mm-hmm. And she says here, he's making me do this, and so she goes to grab his lighter, and she's about to light it up,
and he doesn't stop her at all. Like he just lets her take that lighter. Like there's no fight left in Dean at this point.
None whatsoever. Because he just says it's okay. Like he is ready to give up.
He really is.
Oh, how cool would it have been if Death showed up for this? It's like, this is not your time. Anyway. That's something else. So Sam comes along and stabs Osiris in the back. His eyes go all like glowy, and Jo lets go of the lighter. It never goes off. She puts her hand on his face to be like comforting, I guess.
Yeah.
And she then just flickers away. He's like, Jo.
It was good. I enjoyed it a lot. Like it gives a really good insight into like Dean's current state of mind, that like nothing really matters. And but Bobby even called him out on this, like, how are you doing? Like they keep asking him, like, how are you doing? Like all this stuff that's happening, like how are you doing? And he's just dismissing it. And then we see kind of Jo, he's almost confiding in her that he's not okay by just like allowing her to do this. And it's only luck that he didn't die, because Sam, as always, at the like right exact moment manages to stab the monster of the week. But like that's just on, you know,
that was always going to happen. So I just kind of let it go. I was like, of course Dean's not going to be blown up like to smithereens.
Of course, like end of
and everybody else in that hotel.
That's so true.
Yeah,
the collateral damage of that.
Yeah. But I mean, the window did get broken open, so like that would help a little bit. Anyway, that's
fine.
Again. Sorry, I'm getting like hung up on details. But yeah, like this whole next bit.
Yeah.
I mean, so 3 things wrong with this, kinda. They're not by a bridge.
No, I know.
There's not a cooler of feelings, and like neither of them cry.
I know.
So really, there's no development in character.
Yeah, because it couldn't possibly happen without the cooler, right? That's like, no, it's not possible, right? They have to do that. It's
the wrong beer. They never drink out of cans. That was the thing that weirded me out. I was like, wait, why are they drinking out of cans? They should be bottles.
That was weird. No, you're right. Do you know what this reminded me of? I know they're by a river, but like all the yellow flowers that is near them, it reminded me of the Crossroads where they first made the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought maybe that was a choice, but it might have just been coincidence.
Yeah. What I would have loved is if they were drinking cider and being like, what is this? Because apples.
Yes.
And then like we see them throw it away because they're just like, bump
Sounds
this.
like I got it from the apple farm.
That's been out of business for several
for
years.
some reason.
But anyway, yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So yeah, they're drinking beers out of tins, old tinnies. Getting an old tinny in. That's a bit too British. And Sam's asking about Jo. It's like, oh no, did she seem like she was in pain? And he's like, no, she just kind of faded. Regular Jo. Actually, maybe a little happier. And they sort of like do a little smile and drink their beer. And then Dean like changes the subject and says, where did that come from? Volunteering to defend me? And Sam's like, well, he's going to kick me out. Like, what was I supposed to do? Like, of course he's going to defend you.
But like, Sam's always going to defend you.
Yeah.
What are you even talking about?
So, I mean, he's in a bad headspace at the moment, Dean. Like, I'm interested to see how he's
yeah.
acting in the next few episodes because he's not good. He says, I don't know, man. In another life, you might have made a decent scuzzbag. And Sam's like, ha, 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 ha. I'm 0 for 1, Dean. He's like, oh, it's not your fault. You're pretty convincing. And then Sam's like, yeah, who was he talking about? The final witness. And Dean's just like, I don't know. Could have been anybody. Anybody dead we know. And then changes the subject again. He's like, oh, I get why Judge Judy put me on trial. I got guilt coming out of my pores. But, like, why did he skip you? And Sam has this whole, like, freeing moment thing. And he's like, I don't feel guilty about it anymore. He's like, oh, okay, sure.
Which,
yeah.
Okay. The thing is, I'm sorry. I can't remember what episode it was, but the episode after he gets his soul back, the whole reason why they went to that town to find out what happened is because he felt guilty about not knowing what he did for a year because he was soulless and like he did all this really bad things when he was soulless.
I guess he knows everything now though, and it's just they're like, yeah, I was soulless. I guess I can't blame myself.
I guess so. But to say that he it's because of hell, it's like no, but like you were in a different part of.
I'm with Sam on this. I feel like he's like, I've done enough. I went to hell for like 1,000 years. I paid my dues, man. Yeah. Like about all the stuff I've done. And like he's still being punished, right? Because he's still seeing Lucifer.
True.
So he's like, I got a free pass. Like I'm constantly being punished for the crap that I do.
True.
Because he's like,
look, I don't know what to tell you, Dean. I mean, I spent a lot of time feeling pretty crappy, like my whole life.
What, do you get a secret stash of happy pills?
Hell.
I'm not saying it's logical. I just feel like I did a lot of stuff I should have felt bad for, and then I paid a lot of dues, and I came out the other side. And I'm kind of with Sam on this. This is healthy way of thinking. It's like, yeah. Fine. And he's like, that worked? Like, you feel like your slate's wiped? And he's like, no. Like, I still feel bad for what I did, but like, hell, man.
Yeah. But like, so this, I realised what I was trying to get at. Not to discredit what Sam went through, because he was clearly tortured by Lucifer for millennia, right? I think as the audience, we're supposed to be like, well, Dean went to hell. Why doesn't he have the same viewpoint? Was because Dean had a different experience in hell. He was tortured, yes, but then he got converted to becoming a torturer. So he never got that absolution because he did things in hell that made him feel guilty.
Exactly right.
So they're not going to see it in the same way. They got two different versions of hell. Like, Sam was punished forever, whereas Dean was not because of destiny.
And like, he joined them, right? And I think that is, you're right, that is the difference. And that's how Dean sees it, as like, he broke. And he broke, and then everything bad happened after that to Sam still. So it's all his fault. Because everything's always Dean's fault all of the time. Because he's seen Winchester.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. And that's why he can't understand why hell would almost be like, I guess it sounds bad, but like cathartic for Sam, of like able to forgive himself for other things. Because, ultimately, his time in hell caused a lot of problems. Let's be real.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Sam says, like, again, like, I'm still being punished. Like, sometimes I see Lucifer when I'm frigging brushing my teeth. Like, I don't know. It feels like my past is my past and I can move on with my life. And again, Dean's like, easier said than done.
Yeah.
And even makes the point, like, I don't know whether to feel jealous or weirded out. Because he just can't understand Sam's viewpoint. Like, he can't... Dean doesn't understand how you could possibly forgive yourself for the things that have happened to you. Whereas Sam has managed to do that.
And again, this goes back to John because, you know, any time that Dean slightly messes up and could cause harm for Sam, or, you know, doesn't do a job right, or isn't a good enough bait, isn't blah, blah, whatever insert scenario here, like, he would get punished, basically, for it. Whereas I feel like Sam, he had a bit of a golden boy pass in a way. Obviously he would still get, like, he got his own version of John Winchester, which is like, you know, you're not good enough. But that's different to everything that you do, Dean, has consequences.
They kind of dispute this, but I think it's true. Sam never really idolized John in the same way that Dean did. So the hurtful things he did didn't, like, affect him as much. That sounds bad because it was still, the thing that happened to him was still bad, but, like, he knew that it was bull, right? He's like, this isn't right. Yeah. Whereas Dean almost, like, accepted, like, this is what this is who I am, this is what I deserve, kind of thing. And it kind of actually goes back to the last episode of, like, that's how he could let Amy go. Because he thought he was doing the right thing because of John, and knew that, this conversation, I think, is really interesting that they're two characters and how they kind of relate it to hunting and how they do things and the guilt that because they've both done loads of crap. And sometimes I think it's easy to see them as, like, the same person because they're together so much in the show. But I think times like these, the show, they are completely almost opposite people.
Because, like, I mean, I think of all of the things that Sam has done outside, because all of the stuff that Dean feels guilty about, Sam was there,
right,
for most of it. Well, and okay, the Dean pushing Ben, completely not his fault. That falls completely on Sam.
That's it, because he let him be turned into a vampire. That is
yes,
that's
exactly.
Pretty funny, actually.
So, like, there are things that he feels guilty for, which are actually shared burdens, but there are things that Sam has done which are solely on him.
Maybe that's why this is such a bad thing. Maybe that's why Dean has to carry that guilt, because if you looked at it too closely, he'd just be blaming Sam.
Yep, and he doesn't want to do that because he has to protect Sam, and he doesn't want to hate him, and you would. And
this all comes back to the whole, like, you know, Sam's fated to be evil, really, you know. But you can't look at it like that because you love him. He's your brother. It's not black and white, Dean. And that's, here we go full circle. That's why Dean was a black and white case, because all of this he knows is in his brain, and his life is very not black and white. He judges himself and his brother on a whole different level to anything else they encounter, and that's why he wants the rest of his life to be simple, good guys and bad guys, and that's why it never is. And that's why he killed Amy Pond, because he wanted it to be good guys, bad guys, and he couldn't resolve it in his mind that it wasn't that way.
Exactly. Monster means bad guy means die.
And this is why Purgatory's great, and I can't wait. So the end of this scene, we're getting there. So Dean's like, I don't know if he's jealous or weirded out, and Sam says, you'll get used to it. Like, I don't want to sound lame, but I feel kind of good, Dean. And I'm like, yeah, you should, Sam. You've been through enough crap.
Yeah.
He's like, well, you're going to be a pleasure to...
You've got more to come.
Exactly. He's got some bad stuff coming up. He might as well feel good now.
Yeah, right.
He's like, well, you're going to be a pleasure to ride with. And then they get into the Impala and they drive away. It's a nice sunny day. We ended on a good note. Why not?
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I talked myself out of not liking this episode, I feel, while doing this podcast.
I did too. I guess, well, yeah. It still doesn't make sense
They're a bad bit.
for right now about like why this episode now, and like it felt like it went nowhere.
I just feel like they're building up this Dean. I think Sam has his whole character arc in this season, right? We know he's seeing Lucifer slowly kind of losing his mind, essentially, and we think at the moment he's okay, but like it feels like a bubble that's going to burst. Whereas like Dean doesn't really have a character arc yet in this season, so I think this is them building that up of like he feels guilty about all the stuff they've done. He doesn't seem to really care about himself anymore, and how that's going to play into them fighting the Leviathan. And there's even a moment later on that like plays into that, where he's eating that like turducken sandwich that makes people not care, and he even says like, I don't care, and I don't care that I don't care. But that's also his kind of attitude through this whole season, that like he really does he even want to save the world, you know, at this point. So I feel like this is Dean's character arc, and it's not necessarily very clear, but I think that's what they're trying to establish in this episode.
Right. Yeah. I think you're right. And like it makes it easier for him to sacrifice himself at the end of the season or whatever it is that he does. Like
because him and Cass go full ham on like, we're just gonna go stab this dude, probably gonna die. Because we're both to blame for all of this.
Yep. They're like, Dean is really not to blame at all. But so I think that's why, and it kind of like it does lead up to the whole I feel like it leads up to the purgatory arc. So I'm not mad about it, and that's why I'm kind of not mad at season 7 overall, because I know it's building to something like good. We just gotta hang on in there. Right. And like besides some of the like logical things, which you know you can forgive, I guess, because of TV logic, basically. Yeah, I've talked myself out of this being a completely bad episode. Like it wasn't like last episode, right? Last episode was very much like, whoa. But I understand why they kind of did it, so that they could build upon it.
I think so too. Like,
but
I still don't like it.
I still don't. Yeah.
It just feels so out of character still, like him killing Amy Pond. That I guess it's supposed to ring alarm bells in your head that like something's not right with Dean, but like to me it just seems like he was being an ass. Yeah, exactly. And like just everything that we know about Dean so far, with you know, this is not something like I said out of character. He wouldn't kill a mother. Yeah. Anyway, especially after Let It Bleed, and like where he tried to save Lisa, even though she was a demon, blah 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 blah. We went through it.
we went over this already. But yes. So I don't forgive the last episode, but at least they are building on
I was worried that they wouldn't, so I'm pleased that they are.
Yeah. Which kind of makes sense as to why the next episode is called Shut Up, Dr. Phil, because like Dr. Phil is a quote unquote psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever. So, you know, talking more about their feelings, even though I feel like I said it in the last episode, I think. It's Spike and Cordelia. It's
them. Fine.
It's never not going to be them. But yeah, it'll be interesting. That's the only thing I remember about that episode is that they're both witches, but like they think only one of them is.
Oh gosh, yeah.
I feel like it was a bit of a Mr. and Mrs. Smith situation.
I think so. Like, there's some kind of thing going on between them. I feel like it's a decent episode. It's definitely one that I'd watch while doing other things. The first time I watched this one, though, you know.
Yeah.
So I remember them being witches.
It's like a marriage counselling.
Yeah, I don't remember anything else apart from there's some magic involved. I don't remember what they do to like get the Winchesters on their tail. Like I don't know how this ties in to the rest of the season. It'd be an interesting one to watch because I genuinely I don't remember.
Yeah. And considering the episode that's after that is like super, super important to like the rest of the season, I hope there is some sort of tie-in. Like something happens in that episode that leads to the next
yeah,
one. But we will see.
Yeah, okay. We'll see. It's all good. We just gotta ride the roller coaster of season 7. I know everyone says this is the worst season. I don't think it is. I actually think so far it's better than season 6. So
I do too.
I'm being optimistic.
But I mean, we always knew that there were going to be every season that we've watched so far, there are really high points and really low points. So far, I feel like, apart from last episode where like the character is really character development, whatever, progression really is so extreme, I do feel like they're doing a pretty good job of keeping the episodes pretty even.
I agree, actually. I like season 7 so far. Yeah, for sure. So I'm excited about the next one, and I'm definitely excited about the one after that. And then we'll see where it goes from there. And I mean, we get Charlie at some point. That's going to be great.
Yep. I mean, she's right at the end.
Can wait out. We got to wait for Cass too, you know. We're waiting out a lot of things here.
Garth comes up at some point too. Oh, it's episode 8 actually.
Great.
Yeah, so that's really close.
Yeah. I think let's close this one out. I think I said everything I want to say about it. I feel like it took longer than I thought this episode.
Me too. Yeah.
It's always the way.
Our episodes are getting long again.
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry, guys, but hope you enjoy them.
Yeah. We're just talking nonsense. So, at the end of the episode, we'd like to thank the Pixel Agora for his amazing logo art. And if you'd like to get that on a coaster, you can on our Redbubble store. And if you want to come talk to us about what's coming up on season 7, we are all over social media. So come talk to us on there. We're on Tumblr, Instagram, Bluesky, YouTube, Facebook, I think, as Escaping Purgatory Podcast or Escaping Podcast on Bluesky.
Lovely. So this week we got judged like hard. So hopefully next week we can find our way out. Bye.
Bye.